YouTube. Let's talk about immigration. Why I'm against illegal immigration, and why I'm against refugees moving into Europe, and how they're not compatible with the culture in Europe. So white countries at a whole, so all of Western civilization. I have an issue with immigration. Legal immigration, yeah, if there's, pretty good vetting, pretty good integration going on. But let's focus on the most important part of it, which would be the refugees ruining Europe. But yeah, hopefully I can give you good enough quality insight to change your mind on things. You see things my way, that it's not about hate, it's not about racism. It can be, but it's not for me anyways. And that it really boils down to logic. So why don't we start like this? My analogy that works for me, and I think will work for you, is about comparing neighborhoods. Okay, so why don't we take Sweden as an example? Economically, Sweden's always done well. Crime rate's always low. Everything's cool. There's no gangs really. No gang wars. Nobody chimping out, shit like that, right? Yeah. So Sweden. Why don't we make Sweden, the typical white neighborhood? The suburbs. People try to move to, people try to live to, no crime, everything's cool, everything's clean, cops are trustworthy, everything's cool. White neighborhood, okay, suburbs. Used to live in one of those in Ohio. I think it was mostly white. Pretty clean, you don't gotta worry about much shit. You can go to the mall and no one's going to fucking pull your hair and punch you. Windmill punch you, like that. Anyways, so Sweden, we'll take it as a country for the analogy, would be a white neighborhood. And now we'll just take Somalia or any African country or Middle Eastern country. We'll claim, it doesn't have to be a specific one, I'm not going to make it a specific one, but that'll be the neighborhood country. So that's the neighborhood that wants, the people in that neighborhood want to move to Sweden, the white neighborhood, the neighborhood that's doing all right, the Dennis the Menace neighborhood, right? Now, these people that want to move from their neighborhood to Sweden, so I'll just say Somalia, which is a fucking hellhole, or Haiti, which is shithole. It is, literally. Why don't we take that? So these people from there live in ghetto, crime-ridden, drug-filled, gangs run that fucking neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Crime happens, robbery, murder, constantly. And the way the women are treated, they're enslaved, they're raped, they're used as, they're less human, they're 3/4 a fucking human. That's how the refugees, where they come from, they are coming from fucked up areas. Now we can also compare that to immigration from Mexico, the illegal Mexicans. The Mexicans that immigrate here illegally, they come from those ghetto, crime-filled, drug-filled, run by cartels areas. They come from those fucking areas, right? I don't mean to cuss. I apologize. But they come from those areas. Now, here's the issue. The politicians and the liberals in Sweden actually think that everybody coming from this neighborhood, so let's just take the jacked up neighborhood in Chicago where there's 30 to 40 murders per day on average, right? Somewhere around 25 to 30 on average murders per day. So let's take that neighborhood. So the liberals and the politicians in Sweden actually think everyone coming from that type of neighborhood in Chicago, people like that coming from that neighborhood, they're all peaceful. They're all people that are just trying to get out of that ghetto, that are just trying to make it in a nicer neighborhood, in a white neighborhood, which is it's naive, and it's blind. You're blind and you're naive to think that if I let, okay, in my neighborhood right here, everything's pretty cool. Crime really doesn't happen over here. You think it's logical to let, I don't know, 50 people, 50 blacks from Chicago, the jacked up area in Chicago, the ghetto of Chicago, where the murder rate is about 25 to 30 on average, right? I think the highest was like 38 or 40. You think it's logical, you think it's a good idea to let those people move into your neighborhood because you guys are doing alright. Because we're doing alright over here in Sweden, this white neighborhood. We're doing alright here in Sweden. We're gonna let all these people from Chicago move in here. What will happen to our neighborhood? It'll get destroyed. The malls will be destroyed. Crime will rise. Rapes will happen. Robberies will happen. You know, people are gonna take advantage of other people. It's no longer safe to go out at night. It's not safe to hang out at the basketball courts. It's not safe to hang out at the park. It's not safe to go to the mall anymore. Crime's gonna go up. Drugs are gonna be everywhere now. That's what happens. That's what's happening in Europe. They're letting in people. They're letting in a large amount of people from a jacked up area in the country, in the world, and in a Middle Eastern country and an African country, on hope and on a whim that they're not all bad people, that they're all just this, these freaking dapper, hopeful dreamers that want to make it, that want to live in a white country and make it, because we're no different than you. We had messed up families. We're just good people trying to make money and have a nice life. Now, I don't doubt that some of those are like that. Like if you go to one of these fucked up neighborhoods in America, Chicago for one of them, or somewhere in the Bay Area, or LA, and I'm pretty sure that some people in there caught up in that shit actually do want to live a better life. I don't doubt that at all. Some people, but the majority of people are so fucked up. The majority of people are thieves, are criminals, just like Trump said. I mean, that's kind of why we need a wall. He said most of the ones that, they're not sending their best. Most of them are criminals, are rapists. It's true. Because they're coming from criminal-ridden, rapist-filled, drug-run areas of their countries. I can't say all of Mexico or all of Somalia or what have you is, it's all fucked up, or it's all a shithole, because I personally don't fucking know. But I know the areas that these people are coming from are shitholes. And I mean, what are you going to pull out of a shithole? Do you actually expect every person to be good? And the people that you're pulling from there and letting come in your country while you pay for all of their fucking expenses and everything, and also let them get away with crime, do you think that you're not letting in parasites? I would say 90-95% of them are parasites, and 5-10% of them at the most are probably just people who live in fucked up areas like that, who didn't turn into a fucked up person because of the culture around them. So I'm saying, I'm being modest with that. I'm giving a lot there. I'm saying 5-10% of those people probably did not succumb to the culture surrounding them, but the culture surrounding them definitely changed 90% of those people. And if it didn't change it, it was created by those same people. You don't have a shithole like what Trump said about Haiti. You don't have a shithole country. A shithole country is not made by good people. A shithole country is made by shitty people. People with, who don't pick up their own trash, who don't create a sewage system. Not saying I did, but America did, and so did other first world countries. All I'm trying to get through to you is, it's just like what they say. You import the third world, you're going to turn your country into the third world. And just because you want to love, and just because you think, like, naively think and naively hope that you're only saving, like, all the people you're letting in, whether it's America or Europe, from the refugees to the illegals, all the people you're letting in are completely just nice people. I mean, realistically, logically, it's completely bullshit. Because if you lived in a nice fucking clean neighborhood where no crime happens, you're not going to let 50 to 100 people move into your neighborhood you live in right now. So a neighborhood you live in right now, that it's clean, that the crime is low. You're not going to let a bunch of people from a fucked up neighborhood where people are dying daily, child abductions, robbery, to where you can't even go to fucking stores because of how fucking trashy and fucked up the people are, which is actually prevalent in America all over the place. Mainly black neighborhoods, liberal states, liberal cities. That's how it is. There's no denying that. You're not going to let those type of people, you're not going to let 50 to 100 of those type of people come into your neighborhood, because you know what will happen. Your neighborhood will get destroyed. All I'm trying to say is that's exactly like a country. You can't let in a whole bunch of people from a fucked up country come into your country and you're not vetting them. It's an all paid expense. It's like a fucking safe haven. It's a fucking it's like a paradise to them. Europe is becoming a paradise to parasites. Okay, now when I say parasites, I mean the actual parasites. Some of those refugees are good people that are trying to make it, like I stated before. But it's becoming a safe haven for parasites. Especially when they're letting them get away with raping little girls. That shit pisses me off. That shit's not cool. I mean, that's the perfect way to see it. So hopefully that changes your mind. Or you can lie to yourself, I guess. But if I wouldn't and you wouldn't let some fucked up people from probably the trashiest ghetto place in America, which is not even comparable to how fucked up the countries are that these people are fleeing from. If you wouldn't trust some fucked up people, random fucked up people you don't know, in America from a fucked up neighborhood, to come and move into your neighborhood because you know what will happen, your kids won't be able to go outside. Or let's say your kids do go outside and all of a sudden kids are getting raped. Your kids are getting on drugs. There's drugs in schools now. There's gangs now. There's gang wars. There's murders now. And this never happened before. So maybe you understand how I feel. Maybe how the alt-right feels, or anyone on the right feels when it comes to Europe. Because that's what's happening. Think of Europe as a neighborhood. It's being completely destroyed by parasites. Now, yeah, maybe it's good. Maybe it's a good gesture. Maybe it's a good virtue to, obviously it is. I agree. It's a good virtue to help out people struggling. Absolutely. What would I do? What's the logical thing to do here? Here's what I would do. I would send money to these ghetto areas, right? And their ghetto schools that are struggling. Because if I let them in my neighborhood, it's going to destroy my neighborhood. I would send them cash. Well, isn't that what Europe should be doing for the refugees? Send them cash to have their own safe haven in a Muslim country, an Islamic State country, where they're not fleeing from war, supposedly, which I don't believe. I think it's bullshit. I think most of them are opportunist parasites. I totally believe that. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah, sorry, not sorry. But, yeah. That's how I feel. And hopefully, you can see it that way too. Compare it to a neighborhood, it's no different. That's about it.